When the economy emerged from the coronavirus pandemic 4 years ago, two things happened. Wages climbed by the fastest pace in records dating back to the early 2000s, but prices jumped at a historic rate too, on everything from groceries and utilities to rent and car insurance. It meant that real wage growth was actually negative. All of this gets at a concept that many economists refer to as purchasing power. It's the measure of how much stuff you can buy with your wage. Now, the tide has recently shifted, with wages rising at a faster pace than prices since May 2023. But in my latest study, I wanted to take a stab at answering this complicated question. Do people have the same purchasing power today as they did before prices first surged in 2021? I used two data sets from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Its Consumer Price Index, which tracks inflation over time, and then its Employment Cost Index, which does a better job at measuring wage growth because it adjusts for the composition of workers. I indexed wage growth and inflation to the start of 2021 because that's when the economy first reopened from the pandemic, and it's also when prices first started to surge. I found that the gap between wages and inflation is closing, but nonetheless, it still remains. This is what the gap looks like on a chart, and as of the second quarter of 2025, it currently stands at minus 1.2. A negative number means that workers are still in the hole. Even though their paychecks have grown, they still can't buy as much with their wages today as they could at the beginning of 2021. This process is kind of like looking at two horses in a race. The buzzer goes off, the race begins, and both horses have the same starting position, and we measure the speed at which both horses leave the gate. This helps explain why so many Americans continue to feel bad about the economy, and it also illustrates what's at stake in the future, particularly when we talk about tariffs. It's been surprising to many economists that companies have not passed on more price hikes, but we know someone will have to eat those higher costs down the line. Companies could lower compensation or trim wage growth as a way to eat those higher costs, which raises the risk of it taking even longer for Americans to fully recover the purchasing power that they lost at the start of 2021.